Hello, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and this is going to be a keyword research training session. I'm going to use a tool called Keyword Chef. My friend Ben Adler created the tool. It's kind of one of the new kids on the block. And I'll also talk about the keyword golden ratio. Please let me know if you could hear me. I think that you probably can because I just checked myself. And if you're watching the replay, that is fantastic. I really appreciate it. There's going to be some people on here live, so I'll answer their questions. If you are checking out the replay later, that's fantastic. You may want to fast forward just a couple minutes because I am going to say hello to the people in the live chat. And if you ever have the opportunity to join the live chat, that'll be great. You can subscribe to the channel or do whatever it is you may want to do. I don't know. People subscribe, they don't subscribe. It's totally fine. Whatever you want to do. If you have questions, just ask here in the chat. I will most likely be able to get to everyone's question. You don't have to ask more than once. If you type it in there, I should be able to see it. It is super helpful if you type in, question, hashtag question, and then I'll be able to see it very easily and filter on the various chats. So a couple things to mention here. I've done SEO and keyword research related things for, I guess, going on about 8 years or so. And I started not really knowing anything. In fact, I made a lot of mistakes with keyword research in the beginning. So I've sort of latched on to that specific piece of SEO. It seems to do really well on YouTube, and I'm like anyone else, I'm trying to get some views and some people to pay attention a little bit. I'll also talk just a little bit about the keyword golden ratio, or KGR. There's a link in the show notes here so you can watch a basically free masterclass on the keyword golden ratio. It's a way to find low competition keywords. It's very systematic, and it's a great approach to really just do keyword research manually and potentially find keywords that'll rank really quickly. So a couple shout outs to the people that are in the chat. Sean is in the live audience here, which is great. It says you're here because of the total earnings in the thumbnail. And then we have AT Reviews. You're here to learn how to use Keyword Chef for KGR keywords. Fantastic. And Dan is on as well. Masher. Ben, like I mentioned, the creator, is on. Candy's here also. Mamoon. People can hear me. Tobias, what's up? And we have Zahid and Jeremy as well. So thanks for all the people that are joining me live. If you have the opportunity, hit the thumbs up. It'll help other people find the videos. Leave a comment if you're watching it later. All those little things help out. And I do a bad job reminding people to do that sort of stuff. So we will jump in. I'm going to let a couple more people hop on before we jump right in. But I'll tell you a couple things. One, with the keyword golden ratio, you can basically, what am I trying to say? You can download the template. You can download the template that I use, which I may have to do a little wrangling here in a second, but you can check out the template that I use. It makes it a little bit faster. You can download it for free. It's a Google Sheet. And if you head over to my website, nichesiteproject.com, then you'll be able to download really all my templates and stuff. I just give away my templates and systems. And one of the more popular ones that people often ask about is the templates for hiring people. So I know that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about today, but a lot of people wonder what job listing they should use once they find some keywords. Maybe they're going to hire people from Upwork or something. Maybe they are looking for a template for the actual content to be written. So I have all that stuff. Like I said, just give it away for free. So you join my email list. Eventually I send you a bunch of emails that point you in the right direction for other content that you may find interesting. And let me see, I need to share my screen, but hopefully it'll do this properly. So, yep, if you just hop over here to Niche Site Project, you can click the green button and then enter your name and email address, and then you'll be able to download all that stuff. I'll send you an email and I'll make you double confirm everything. So we'll hop over to Keyword Chef here momentarily. I'm going to hop back over to the full screen, and I am going to answer a couple questions here. So Tobias says, thanks for all the shows and podcasts. And the question is, when I build a new site, how soon do I start link building, and what frequency do I initially build links? So number one, it's this one's off topic, but I'll go ahead and answer as more people are hopping on here. So number one, I start building links right away. What frequency do I build links? Really as fast as I can. So there are other theories, right? There are other theories where people may say, you know what, I'm going to build the site and I'm going to wait for the links to naturally come, or I'm going to wait for 4 months because it would seem more natural for links to show up after 4 months after you launch a site. So that could be true for someone who is not a marketer and maybe it's their first site, they don't really know what they're doing, and they're thinking, all right, it's more natural if I launch it and then things are going to happen. Well, I've launched a few sites that are not necessarily affiliate sites, but I started a new podcast not too long ago. And I have a couple friends that they have been speaking and doing things at live events. And then they created a website that's only a few weeks old. Because they've networked, because I have blogged and I've networked, and the podcast that I started is with another person that's blogged for about 8 years. He and I both have followings, and we both have pretty strong networks. So it's absolutely normal for us to promote our projects, promote our sites, and to tell people about it. So I would say it's pretty normal for a new website to get backlinks almost right away. That is not a weird thing to happen. It's pretty normal if it's someone who knows how to promote things, if it's someone that is, a marketer, or they're launching something and they want to tell people about it. So my answer to Tobias is basically, promote the hell out of your site if you have the ability to do it. If you're more conservative for some reason, or you're a little more cautious, then build up to it. Go a little bit slower. But I could tell you, when I've promoted new things that I've launched, I'll link to it. I'll tell other people about it. I'll tell my peers about it who have the ability to link to my projects, and it's totally normal to do that. Okay, so I know some other people have been hopping on, and Brian's on here. Singh is on here. Rashid, Bart, and we have Brian here, and Grant. Okay, so if anyone is looking for the keyword golden ratio template, go to my website, Niche Site Project. There's a link in the show notes, and you can download the free template. You'll have to sign up for the email list, but you can do that. And I will actually pull up the template here really quickly. I'll have to find it for you, and then I'll show you what you will get. And again, it is a free template. You just have to join the email list, and then you'll get the link. And let's see here. I'm moving tabs around, I'm moving windows around. There's a lot of exciting things happening. You can't see. You can't see it. All right. So we're over here, and I have a lot of windows open. I know this isn't the most fun thing to watch. There's just me paused there. That is definitely not what you want to watch, but that is the thing I need to fix here. This is live, by the way, so this is sort of thing you can run into here. Okay, so this is the template that you would have access to, and I try to make it very clear. Make your own copy of this. So if you try to edit it and then you ask me to edit the master copy, I'll just delete the email because I get too many of them. So just make your own copy here, and you'll be able to move forward. All you would have to do is click here, make a copy, and then It goes right here. And this is the one that we'll be working on. I'm going to go ahead and delete this row. So this is the sheet that you can get, and essentially it just does a little math here, and then it allows you to click on one of these search strings and find the all in title fairly quickly. So that's the main idea there. And the other part, just in general with the keyword golden ratio, watch the playlist that I've linked in the show notes here. But the keyword golden ratio is where you essentially try to find long tail keywords. So you have the number of all in title results, and all in title is an advanced Google search string. So you find the all in title results and you divide it by the monthly search volume. So very straightforward. You end up with some number, a ratio. That ratio that you're aiming for is under 0.25. If it's closer to 1, it'll be a little more difficult. If it's like 6 or something like that, or 70 or whatever number you come up with, it means that there are a lot of results that have all those words in the title. That's what all in title checks for. And by the way, as a side note, there are a lot of advanced search strings. So there's all in title, there's in title, there's in URL, all in URL, and there's several others. I don't know all of them. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, but you can do some pretty sophisticated searches if you understand how to do it. So the keyword golden ratio is something that we'll sort of mix in here coming up. And if you want this free calculator, all you have to do is go sign up for the email list over on nichesiteproject.com, which is over here. And then I'll send you an email. So the other thing we're going to look at is keyword chef. So that'll sort of be the driver. Today we're going to look up some keywords. Perhaps people are going to suggest some niches, but I will probably just show you how I would typically brainstorm and get some ideas. And that's going to be on Amazon. So that's, again, one of the drivers here. Amazon affiliate is a great way to earn money, especially if it's sort of your first site. There's tons of products. It's very low friction for someone to make a purchase. You could just hop, right on your phone here and, make a purchase in just a handful of clicks, like whatever, 3-4 clicks, you can make a purchase. So very low friction. And there have been ups and downs with Amazon. Last year, they lowered the commission rate in the April timeframe of 2020, which was unfortunate, but they sell a lot of stuff, so it's crazy to ignore them. You potentially can have other monetization. You could work with other affiliate programs, of course. You can have display ads, all of which I definitely encourage. So I see we do have a couple more questions before we get rolling with the demo. And what's going to happen is we'll look on Amazon. I'll just sort of randomly browse around. We'll identify a product that seems a little bit interesting, maybe something I don't know anything about, just as an example, so I can ask some dumb questions about the niche. Maybe someone will know. People in the chat, feel free to mention a niche that you're potentially interested in, or something that maybe you want me to look at. I'm not sure if I'll choose one of those, but it could give us some ideas and we can have some conversation in the chat. So once we figure out some niche or a few products to look at, then we'll hop over to Keyword Chef and we'll look at some of the functionality there. Keyword Chef is really a great way to get your list of keywords where you filter out a lot of the keywords that you probably weren't even going to go for anyway. There are some new features with Keyword Chef, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a demo today. And that is around some of the sort of competition level and SERP analysis. And I think the keyword golden ratio in conjunction with Keyword Chef and the competition level, which I'm probably using the wrong terminology, sorry, Ben, but it can give you a very good way to prioritize potentially a long list of keywords. You can get 1,000 credits over at Keyword Chef using my link in the show notes in the description there, which I would earn a commission if you actually make a purchase, but you get 1,000 free credits, which honestly, if you find 1,000 keywords and you use all those 1,000 credits, it should be enough for you to start a website and keep you busy, I would say, for a year and a half or two. I mean, that's one of the cool things with Keyword Chef. You don't have to sign up for like a monthly plan over and over again, or pay on a monthly basis. I just spilled water all over my desk here. A little sloppy. All right. So we'll hit these couple questions here, then we'll get into it. After we do Keyword Chef and find some keywords, then we'll look at using the keyword golden ratio. That part of it will be a smaller part of the demo because much of that is manually looking at all in title results, and that will, you can only do a certain number of those before Google flags your IP address. So we'll do a handful of those. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but there are many videos where I go deep into finding KGR terms and all that kind of stuff. All right. We'll hit some of these questions. All right. So GTFO says, what is a good domain authority number to go for when analyzing competitors? I don't know exactly what you're asking. So I know what all of those words mean, but I think you may be saying, should they be low? How low should you look for? And my overall answer is I wouldn't necessarily just use domain authority to analyze your competition in general. It's a lot more complicated than that. And if you just use the domain authority, which is a metric from Moz, you will potentially, you're basically operating on poor information. So there's a lot more to it, and I wouldn't necessarily just look at domain authority. So I would look at many other things, which is beyond the scope of this video and not on topic. So I'm not going to go deeper into it, but I'll just tell you, you can investigate further. Next, does the KGR work in 2021? And the answer is, of course it does. Why else would I be doing this video? So yes, it does. Dan says, does the KGR take into account stop words by any chance, or do you think it's worth adding that function? For example, do words like the or is, do they matter? So does the KGR take into account stop words? The answer is yes. And stop words are the words that are mentioned here, or A is the small articles, the essentially like the other words in the keyword that don't really add. They're like the filler words. I'm no grammarian. So it does take into account those words. Now, is it worth adding that function and thinking about it? The answer is no. You can make the keyword golden ratio extremely complicated by adding more factors in there to try to make it more accurate. But in reality, you're just operating on, again, poor data. So you're operating on a lot of assumptions. So if you start trying to make it more accurate, you just end up with more data that you potentially think is more accurate, but it's really not more accurate. And we're just kind of aiming in the right direction. And that's really good enough for what we're trying to do. And okay, we'll start after this last question. And I see there's many more. So Rashid says, if the keyword has a KGR of 0.5, but on a keyword that ranks very high authority websites, can we rely on the KGR? The answer is yes, you can rely on the KGR. You should look at the other factors like, okay, it's a very high authority website, but does that specific page that is ranking on the high authority website, does it have backlinks going to it? Is the URL a strong URL? That entire path, not just the domain. After all, you're not trying to beat the whole website. You're just trying to beat that page. The other more important thing is whether or not that search term actually matches up with the content on that page. So a very high authority website might rank for something that is a bit off. It might not be the thing that the searcher is actually looking for. So we're talking about search intent here. So if you if it doesn't match up, then you certainly can outrank something where you are actually answering that query. And that kind of goes into why the keyword golden ratio might work, because it's so specific for so many things. All right, so let's get started. First, let's get a little bit of an idea of the keywords that we might be looking for here. And I see someone mentioned bread makers, someone mentions bone china. So, and then Grant says voodoo. So, all right, let's do bread makers first. All right, so that fits with a chef area there, and I guess bone china does as well. So we'll look up bread makers, see what we have. So a lot of products, and from a just a marketing standpoint and creating a website, this is a great price range, because you're going to be able to find like this expensive, I don't know how to pronounce that. Like this one here is $339. There's one here for $70. There's another one that's $130. And there are some premium options, and it looks like some fairly inexpensive ones. In fact, I'm just curious if we were to sort by the price, which, like I said, I have so many windows on this screen. It's a little hard for me to find things occasionally. So when we look at now we just have a bunch of parts here, but let's find a cheap bread maker. All right, maybe it's $69. No, it's a sponsored one. Okay, bear with me, folks. There's a toaster. All right, we'll just say there are some cheap ones that are like $50. All right, yeah. So here's one that's about $40. So it's not super expensive. And some people may want to get the cheaper option. That said, some of them are really expensive. We just saw some that were a couple $100. And if it's a couple $100, then your commission rate is going to be higher. Or not the commission rate necessarily, but the commission that you will earn will be higher because it's a percentage basis. So from that perspective, it potentially is a really great niche, because there's a wide range of products, and the cheapest one is, relatively not expensive, but it's not like $5 or $6. So I have seen some people, go for a niche. They actually rank, get a lot of traffic, but they're selling books, and even an expensive book hardcover is, $30 or $40, maybe. And most of the time it's a paperback, and it's, $12, something like that. And you're just not going to earn very much if you do that. And we have David on, by the way. David is one of the fine moderators, and I think Adrian may be around soon as well. And if there's any moderators that I missed, thank you for helping out, keeping order in the chat. So bread maker seems good just in general. There are related bread products like toasters or toaster ovens or whatever. So let's hop over to Keyword Chef. Again, you can get 1,000 free credits if you want to. You just have to go sign up. So you would hop over here to Discover. Now, there are a couple new functions we're going to learn together here, but luckily, Ben is a good documentarian. I don't know if that's the right term, but he actually has some pretty good information on the knowledge base learning center over here. So some of the new things we'll look at, we'll figure it out, but it'll end up being, oh wow. So you could actually look for questions or best of, or compare how to most alternatives, or the wildcard, which I would assume we'll find all of those, which that's what we're going to do. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see what the actual name of these are typically for a lot of these. So we see bread maker, and we see bread machine listed. So I think we're going to call it bread maker. We see a home bakery, but yeah, bread maker. I see sometimes it's 2 words, sometimes it's 1 word. I'm going to look over here on the department, so kitchen, dining, and then bread machine. So they're calling them bread machines in some cases. So we'll say bread maker and then see what happens. So again, here's all the documentation if you need help, but it's very simple. So put in bread maker, and it requires an asterisk, otherwise choose another category. Okay, so I haven't used it in like 2 weeks, and there's some new features. So we're looking for products. I'm going to say, let's do best. Hit search. It could take a bit to run here. And then I'll have the ability to ignore certain words or not. I'm going to go ahead and get these keywords. So first thing we see here is a fairly straightforward view. This is one of the nice things with Keyword Chef. It's fairly straightforward. There's not a lot of extraneous or extra information. It's what you need and not much more. So we have anything with best in it. So you'll see all of these begin with best. And we have the average search volume for the last 12 months. We also have the high for the last 12 and the low for the last 12, so we can understand if there's a lot of seasonality or not so much. Gluten-free seems to be popular. It's listed a couple of times here. And we can have a look at the SERP. So this is one of the sort of nice new features. Let's look for best bread maker for gluten-free. So we're at 260 here for the search volume. And I'm going to click the SERP here, and it'll potentially take a second here to pull those results. So hopefully it'll be relatively fast. And unfortunately, the font is a little bit small for everyone out there, but what we see is the top 9 results, it looks like, top 9 results for this specific keyword. So we see GF Jules, Bread Newbie, Bread Machine Pros, the Wind Up Space, Mom Dot, and so on. So there's several different things here. We could actually click on, I believe this opens the SERPs. I'll click on it and see what happens. Yep. So this actually opens the SERPs for us, and we can see what it actually looks like too. So here are the actual results, and we end up seeing many other different people also ask. We have some other, I use keywords everywhere as well, so there's some other related keywords here. So a lot of information. So we end up at a spot here where we have a bunch of keywords. They're all best of. Some of them are not going to be like relevant. So something like best bread maker Australia, probably not relevant if I'm not targeting Australia, or NZ for New Zealand, Singapore, anything with a location, not super relevant, but we do see a lot of others that are great. Sourdough bread here, best bread maker for pizza dough, rye bread, crusty bread, beginners, best way to get bread out of a bread maker, and so on. So there's a lot of them here. Some are price oriented, like best bread maker under 200 or 300 or 100. So a lot of these are going to work out. And again, one of the great things with Keyword Chef is the filters that are set up, the filters that Ben has figured out are, well, I mean, they're ones that I was using anyway, but sort of manually. So you could use a different tool like, say, Ahrefs, which is a lot more expensive. It's a full suite of tools, but it's a lot more expensive just in general. You could pull a lot of keywords, but then you would have to figure out how to filter the, many hundred or many thousands of keywords. And Keyword Chef just makes it a little bit easier, and you end up with a very high hit rate here. So obviously I didn't look at all of these 146 keywords, but if I just had to estimate, I would say probably about half of them would be viable keywords to look deeper. Now, we do have a great question here from Mav, and says, I know you said 250 or lower for the keyword golden ratio. Does 260 work as well? So this is one of the key things for the old keyword golden ratio. It's in the formula, right? I say you take the all entitled results, divide it by the search volume, where the search volume is 250 or less. So thank you, Mav, for remembering that I emphasize that very much. Now, the thing is, the estimates for search volumes are just that. They're estimates. And every tool uses a little bit of a different algorithm to figure those up. A lot of them do use a 12-month average, 12-month running average, or whatever data is available. And it's could be something a little bit different. Some tools may be using 6 months. Some tools use 18 months or whatever. So you could end up with vastly different numbers potentially. So does 260 work? And the answer is, if you're in a situation like this where we do see it's 260, yeah, have a look at it. If you think it's a good keyword, go ahead and go for it, because it's an estimate, and 260 is very close to 250. Now, if you have a website that already has content, maybe it's a couple years old, maybe you're looking to sort of reinvigorate and publish some content that's going to rank quickly, well, in that case, maybe you can be a little bit more aggressive and say, oh, maybe 300 or 700, or maybe you have a lot of content around a certain topic like bread maker recipes, so you find a handful of keywords in the same topic area like bread makers. Then you might be able to rank because you already have some built-in relevancy on your site. You're out of the sandbox. You're in a spot where you potentially can rank for more competitive terms. If you have a brand new site where you're just thinking, hey, I want to test out the keyword golden ratio, then you should probably stick to the formula fairly strictly. So the thing is, I just picked this 260 here because it was near the top and it was the first thing that I saw. So basically we have 146 of these keywords. 143 of them are under 250 searches per month. Only the top 3 are over 250. And 2 of those are basically the same. So it's best bread maker for gluten-free and best bread maker gluten-free. So one of them just has the stop word of for, F-O-R. So the whole point is there's a shitload of other keywords here that you could go for, and I would highly recommend that you go for those first. Go for those other lower competition keywords first. And then, okay, so what else do we have here? And so we have some keywords, so you could sort of filter down in certain areas. So let's say I have identified an area where I'm thinking, all right, I want to focus and I want to do a content cluster on that specific area. Let's say that is around dough. So I clicked on dough, and then it's filtered out the other 100 plus keywords. So we see best bread maker for pizza dough, best bread maker dough recipe for making dough, thin pizza crust, and a few of these have pizza involved, so you could sort of lump all of those together. One of them is a little more specific with the thin pizza crust dough. So that's sort of interesting. One thing you'll notice here is all of them but the first one, they have 0 for the search volume. So you may be thinking, how do you use a 0 search volume with a keyword golden ratio? That's dividing by 0, and all the mathematicians out there are thinking that's undefined. You can't divide by 0. It's impossible. And you're right. So you don't use the KGR formula. You don't use the KGR formula if you have a 0 search volume. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't go after 0 search volume keywords? No. You potentially should go after 0 search volume keywords if it is a Google autosuggest or if it's a related search. In those cases, Google is telling you that those are keywords that you can go after. So one thing we'll sort of take a look at here, we have best bread maker for pizza dough. So I'm going to click this little, I don't know what you call that icon, but it's going to search in Google for us. So best bread maker pizza dough. So 90 searches per month, and we see that here for the average. We also, again, I use keywords everywhere, and we see 90 is listed there. As we scroll down, we have, well, first a bunch of bread maker ads. Then we see 3 recipes here. And then we have some people also ask. So these are often going to be good subheadings in your content. So have a look at these. Each time you click on one of these, it spawns up more. And you could just keep going down the line. And I haven't noticed this before. This has a video result as the answer to this question. So that's kind of interesting. Just in general, YouTube and Google are playing really well together. So you can use these for FAQs within your content, potentially pulling in more long tail keywords. So one thing I'm going to look for, so we have best bread maker pizza dough. Great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it into our spreadsheet here. So this is why the spreadsheet is helpful. So I'll zoom in just a little bit here at the risk of forgetting. So then I could just paste in that keyword phrase. And then we looked, and I'll just manually type in 90 for the search volume here. So 90 is there. And then whenever I copied the keyword phrase into this cell right here, it created a formula here that I could just click on, and then I don't have to type in all in title or do anything unusual. So what we see here is about 20 results. So all in title, best bread maker pizza dough, there are 20 results. So then I can hop back over here, type in 20, and we end up with a KGR of 0.222. And holy shit, I didn't even plan ahead, but we ended up finding a KGR term on our first try. I have done this a few times in the past, but that's cool when it works out that way. That's pretty fun. Makes me look smart, makes the tool look good. Everybody's winning here. Get 1,000 free credits, all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to unfilter this dough portion here. Okay, so we have volume and SERP. So I could actually filter this here and say anything, 250. And do I have to click anything else? Okay, yeah, so it filtered out anything over 250. So now we're left with just the things that are over 250. We have this custom SERP score. Select which types count towards. So I'll take this by default. After saving, refresh the report to see the new SERP scores. This will update all your reports. So this is the new thing I was talking about. So this is the SERP score. So Ben may still be around. He can tell me if I've messed up something here. So then I have to refresh the report. Okay. Let's see. Is there a spot to do that? I'll just refresh the whole thing. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. No, that was not. All right. So we'll type in bread maker and then put in best. So we see a similar report. We will get the keywords. Oh, you already have a report for bread maker. Okay, I'll click on that. So that's cool that I didn't have to do that again. And do we have custom SERP score? Didn't we do this already? All right, so this is why it's great to have your report will be saved in my reports. Okay, so Ben's helping me out here. So now I will go over to the report section, bread maker. Okay, I'm going in circles here, but don't worry, folks. We're going to figure this out. Not sure where it's supposed to show up, but I'm sure Ben's going to tell us. Well, let's read about this functionality. This is live. So understanding the SERP score. So this is filtering the report. So unlike other keyword tools that return a keyword difficulty, Keyword Chef uses the SERP score instead to measure the keyword competition. So a lot of other tools rely on the domain authority, and that doesn't take into account the search intent or how well that page is optimized. But the SERP score looks at the number of websites in the SERPs, and it sort of filters out things or reviews the fact that things are forums or user-generated content, and they are not as optimized for SEO. So that's the general idea. And the great thing here is we have a video. Fuck. All right, so Ben's helping me out. He says, click on Get All SERPs. All right, so I'll click on Get All SERPs here. So it's being processed, and my reports, it'll take a few minutes, blah, blah, blah. Go to the report. Okay, let's see what happens. It is running. I'll make witty banter in the meantime. And basically, we have this very simple system of gray, yellow, and green. So if you see green, that's good. It means there's more results in the SERPs that are not as optimized, and potentially you have more of a chance to rank. Maybe it's lower competition because things aren't optimized as well. And awesome thing is this feature is so new, I didn't even get a chance to play with it, and I worked out just before I started this, so I didn't watch this 1 minute video, which would have just taken me 1 minute. But luckily Ben is kind enough to help me out. All right, so it's updated, the report's updated, we click to refresh, and now there should be some SERP score, and great. So we see I think it's sorted by the SERP score now. So there's just a couple that have 3 and some that have 2 or 1 or 0. So that indicates that there are not forums or other user-generated content. So one thing we can do, hopefully, is not that. Keywords, not that either. Filters, also not that. Actions, okay. So what I want to do now is find the other keywords around bread maker. So I'm going to go to discover. I'm going to look for, I need to actually learn what each one of these, I know what questions are. So I'm going to look at bread maker questions. The other thing that might be worthwhile that could introduce the just other keyword ideas is not using the term bread maker, but bread machine, which was also used over on Amazon. So we will go ahead, we're going to go ahead and get these. Oh, and we can merge similar reports. Hopefully it'll do that. Okay, so get keywords, another 126, and it is merged over here with the best of. So if I want to filter on either one, then I can. In this case, I do want to filter on those questions. So the other thing that I'll do, I'm going to go ahead and click on Get All SERPs, gobbling up those credits, but it's for a good cause here. And okay, as it's running here, like I mentioned, we could be in a situation where, bread machine is used sort of interchangeably. So for this specific niche, it's something to be aware of, and it would be very helpful, right? If you're looking over here for like best bread maker pizza dough, what if we put in bread machine? I wonder what would happen there. Bread machine pizza dough. So we end up with 390 searches, which is over the KGR threshold. Doesn't mean it's a bad keyword. So that's another thing probably that we should emphasize is you don't have to use KGR keywords for every single keyword. And some people might mistakenly think that I only use KGR keywords, which is completely not true. It's just one of the tools that we can use to find keywords that are lower competition. It really forces you to look at low search volume, low competition. And that's extremely helpful when you're working on a brand new site, or maybe you're sort of newer to publishing just in general, and you haven't had anything rank. I actually ran into many people over the years who have been publishing. They are grinding it out. They're publishing content, every week for a year or two, and they're consistent and they're not getting much traffic. They've never had anything rank in the top 50. They might get a trickle of traffic through some long tails occasionally, but generally they're just not getting much traffic. And then they'll use the keyword golden ratio. They find these very low competition keywords, very low search volume, and they're able to not only rank in the top 50, but maybe the top 20 or top 10, start getting long tail traffic because it's so specific. People are looking for best bread machine for thin pizza dough crust. It's ultra specific. People are looking for something very, very specific, to be redundant. So KGR is a great tool to use, but you don't have to use it for every single keyword. So hopping back over, again, thinking of this bread machine versus bread maker, that's something to consider. Now, that does bring me to the sad realization that because this keyword, best bread machine and best bread maker pizza dough, that makes me think that maybe instead of 90 search volume for bread maker versus bread machine, we should probably sum those together. So this is a bit of an advanced KGR topic, but if you find things that essentially have the same searcher intent, bread machine versus bread maker, and the same other words, and we know it's the same person searching for the same thing, if those two searchers ended up with the same result, they would probably be happy. So that means we should probably sum 390 and 90, and we end up with 480, right? I just did that in my head. So we end up with 480, and then it kicks us out of the KGR range. So I was really happy about finding that KGR term right away. But turns out when we look a little bit deeper, when we think about the searcher intent, when we look at other related searches, we end up at a spot where maybe that's a little more competitive. Now, for the people that are thinking a little bit more about, well, you still ended up with only a small number of all in title. Well, that was for the other search phrase. So if we were to hop over to our template, again, if you're just joining in, you could download this template for free. Just go to Niche Site Project. So here we're at 390. And then this template makes it a little bit easier for all in title. So you could just click the hyperlink that is created, and we end up with 46 results. So technically, that's going to be still fairly low. Now, this brings us to a spot that I didn't want to be in, where I'm like, well, we're talking about 480 total, and then we have 66 all in title results when we're looking at these two kind of related SERPs. So should you go for it? I would say, yeah, go for it. Does this meet the strict KGR definition? No. But I already told you I'm not dogmatic about this, and if you want to bend the rules a little bit and give it a test, do it. There's nothing better than your own experience, your own information for your own specific website, and that is a great way to learn. Just test. Now, if you do send me an email and you say, hey, Doug, I did go for it, it didn't fit the KGR, and it didn't rank as high as I was hoping. Well, then I'll shoot back and say, well, you didn't follow the the formula specifically, and then you'll say that you told me that I didn't have to follow it specifically, but you get the point here. Test and experiment and figure out, what works for your site. You'll have data specific for you, and you'll have a better understanding as you do this more and more. And the whole point is, just because it doesn't meet the KGR doesn't mean it's not a good piece of content that you should publish on your site. It might not rank as quickly, it might not rank as high, but over time you may end up in the same or even better of a spot. Oh, and we see Eric is on. What's up, Eric? Good to see you, and happy to have all the folks on today. If you have the opportunity to hit the thumbs up or leave a comment if you're watching the replay. It'll help other people find the video, and it'll help me out, and it'll help Ben out too. Ben is in the chat helping me learn how to use the tool as well, but he created Keyword Chef, and it's been cool seeing how this tool has gotten better and better over time. So the other thing we can do is let's look for alternatives. So I haven't used this one before, and if you're just hopping on, you might remember me saying there's some new features here. So I'm gonna type in I'll do bread maker just to stick with it. So alternatives, and see what we have here. So that is just 2 credits, so not a ton. We'll go ahead and get those keywords. So vegan alternative to milk powder for bread maker, and skim milk powder and bread maker. So I think actually both of these are awesome keywords. They're very specific. They do have a 0 search volume, but people search for these, and if you can give them the right information, you're going to be in great shape. I am just curious what the SERPs are going to be for this. So vegan alternative to milk powder for bread maker, and we end up with some things you can buy, some sort of powdered milk stuff, a couple recipe type things. People also ask, and more recipes here. But we see Healthline, 6 of the best milk powder substitutes. Now, what we're going to do right now is a quick plug for sponsor Ezoic. So they sponsor these live streams that make it possible. There's a link in the show notes. They have a new tool called Leap, and it helps your site load faster. It helps you get green for the core web vitals, which is important. Google's busting our balls all the time with these core web vitals. I actually spent, it was kind of fun, but I spent like probably an hour and a half yesterday trying to fix up Niche Site Project, because there was some core web vitals that it wasn't passing. It was like the largest contentful paint. And the thing is, if you hop over to Niche Site Project, the homepage loads pretty fast. I mean, homepages probably should. There's not much on them. If you go to some of the pages that are longer, maybe with a lot of images, well, those are still really fast. Like my site generally will load. In fact, go check it out when you sign up for the email list. It loads really fast, like usually half a second or less. Like it's something I've worked on pretty hard, but it was still screwing up on the core web vitals, and there were a handful of pages that were suffering. So it was very sad. It's very sad overall, and I'm hoping that it'll snap back. I have asked to in the Search Console for that to be retested and validated, even though my site's loading faster than most of the others out there. But the point is, Leap will help your site load faster thanks to Ezoic. The other part is I'm going to answer some more questions, but at this stage, I'm actually going to play a quick clip to let my voice rest, number 1. And number 2, it is also going to be a sponsored video. And this is about age domain. So I'm gonna play this, and I'll be right back. I'll answer some questions, do some more demos. I'll be in the chat. Big thanks to ODYS Global, that's ODYS, and they're the source for age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks, usually, almost always, niche relevant backlinks. So the featured domain for this week is seducingwithstyle.com. It was a men's fashion consulting and date coaching site, sort of like it has seduce right there in the name. And I'm going to take a look at the old school website here, created in 2010. So it's 11 years old, and the site's focus was around men's clothing as well as dating tips for men seeking to attract women. So, I would say slightly offensive depending on, your company that you're having a conversation with, of course, but this is a hot niche. right, dating and seduction, it's a hot niche overall. And this particular site had a domain rating of 15. Currently, it's 15 and it's been as high as 35. The domain authority is 35, and it is obviously very brandable. It's a .com and it has quite a few backlinks overall. And when I do take a look at the one of the screen grabs in the Wayback Machine back from 2013, it looks, kind of like you would expect with like free downloads. It says something about like techniques to approach beautiful women. You could download the free ebook. So, it was a different time back then. But I can say this is probably an evergreen niche overall. And I would say you probably could just aim in the same direction as far as monetization for what this site originally was trying to do. I think you can probably earn quite a bit of money from display ads, whatever network that you're going to approach, whether it's Ezoic or some other network. And there are, a lot of search terms associated with the sort of dating, or I guess there's fashion that you can cover as well. So there's a lot of angles that you can cover. And then I think the big money is referring people to like dating courses or style courses or anything where you can earn an affiliate revenue, and there's probably apps and different things that you could make money on there too. So when I look and have a little bit more analysis on the domains and the number of backlinks, while the domain rating of 15 is relatively modest, I would say there's 218 referring domains and 156 of those are do follow. So that's pretty substantial overall. And there are links from pretty big sites, feedburner.com, BuzzFeed. And if I, look a little bit deeper, there are some pretty significant ones. Let's see, blogs.com. I'm not sure if that's anything specific. Cognitive SEO, Wisebread, blogmaverick.com, HipWe, a lot of them that I haven't heard of, but there are quite a few backlinks coming from sites of DR's domain rating over 60, and obviously there's a lot over 50 as well. So some of those do seem to be associated with some sort of SEO type situation, like keyword or prweb.com, but basically there's quite a few backlinks here. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else super interesting about this particular domain. One of the big things is this one is relatively inexpensive. It's coming in under $1,000. And when you buy something from ODYS, when you buy one of these domains from ODYS, you get a little logo. So they have a logo here for you that looks pretty good, so you don't have to worry about that. And some of the domains that I feature are very expensive, sometimes over $5,000-$10,000, but this one is under $1,000. And I know I have heard from a few different people who have used expired or aged domains just like this one. You don't necessarily need to have a very high domain rating, and I would say if you started working on this site, you probably can get that domain rating up higher. And after all, that's just a metric to give you an idea what's going on. There are 156 do follow referring domains, and you can get $100 in your new ODYS account. If you sign up with my affiliate link, I get a commission, which I greatly appreciate. And I appreciate the sponsorship that ODYS, provides here, but you can get $100 free into your account. So there's no reason to, not check it out. So thanks to ODYS, and let's get back to the show. All right, and we are back. I'm going to answer some questions, maybe do a little more demo stuff as well. And let's see here. And just a quick reminder, you can get the template that I was using if you sign up for the email list over at Niche Site Project. I send you all the templates I have, all the systems I use, all that stuff. And then if you want to check out Keyword Chef, you can get 1,000 free credits, which should keep you busy. Like I mentioned, if you use up your 1,000 credits, there's a good chance you're going to end up with, 500 usable keywords, which most likely should keep you busy for a pretty long time. Now you should, look up more keywords than that, because I'm an affiliate and I want to earn a commission at some point. But I mean, the fact is you could probably launch a couple websites with the 1,000 credits. So it's very generous of Ben to offer that up, and really appreciate it. Let's answer some of these questions here. And Elsie said, is OJ a nice beer? So I don't know. I do love beer. I could talk about that at length. But I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly. We'll potentially come back to the voodoo niche, Grant's recommendation. Muhammad says, is AI content writing best or not? So I've been seeing more of my friends and peers doing reviews on the AI tools. I haven't dusted one off in a few months. The ones that I did use, it left a lot to be desired. I think they can be used as a piece in your content machine. But if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to use AI writing content or an AI tool or anything like that, you're probably going to have to do more editing. It's not going to be, it can be helpful, but it's probably not going to solve the problem. It may prevent you from like having to work with as many people, but you're still going to have like content to be written. It's going to need to be edited. And from, I've seen some just fucking terrible results from using some of the AI tools. And it could be exciting. Oh, I think I hear Georgie dreaming up there. I have a dog, Georgie. She's upstairs. She's definitely dreaming. I can hear her. You might be able to hear her too if you listen close, maybe if you have headphones. Anyway, the point is AI writing content, I need to test out some of them. When I've looked at them before, it was virtually unusable content. I could have been using them wrong too. I don't know. All right. Brian mentions beanbags. That could be something to check out in a second. All right. I'm going through the questions here. Oh, and AB says you're glad you found this because you don't know which keyword research tool to use. Here I am talking about Keyword Chef, but if you look back last week, I used a tool called KW Finder. I like that one too. It's more of a robust suite of tools, so it costs a little bit more. It does a lot of other things, but depending on what you need, Keyword Chef might be perfect. And you mentioned, AB, that you are writing info content. You're not promoting any affiliate products, and Keyword Chef will work fine. Really, any of the tools should work fine regardless of whether you're an affiliate website or you just publish informational content. AB also says, when you use the KC, the keyword competitiveness for the results, are the results with 5 keywords, one article or an H2 subtopic, or is there a rule? Is it better to write an article or add H2s? So it depends on the keyword and the sort of subtopic or sub keyword. So there's no blanket answer for this. It could be something where it's a subtopic and it's something that could stand alone, but it would be very short. And if someone's reading the sort of parent article and they would be interested in that subtopic, maybe you do include it. So it depends. And it also depends on like the number of searches per month. So if you find the main keyword has 200 searches per month, and then the sub keyword has a reported 0 searches per month, maybe you would have it as a subtopic in the main parent article. There's no hard and fast rule for it. Afnan asked about Keyword Chef for local searches, and I don't know the answer to that, but I posed it to Ben in the chat, so hopefully he can weigh in on that. Mav asks about if the result that ranks number one is a video with millions of views, should you bother to compete on that word? If some of the other results are blogs or sites that are similar to yours, then potentially yes, you can still go for it. If all of the results are YouTube videos, then you probably should not. All right, and as I'm scrolling down, we're going to get to some new questions here. Sticks says, which one should I care for, page views or unique visitors per month, to analyze how better my website is performing? Those are probably going to correlate together anyway. So I would say just pick one. It doesn't really matter that much. I think I generally look at the page views just in general, but those should probably correlate pretty closely. So if you're not going to see a case, it'll be very unusual if you see one of those going up and the other one going down. It's very unlikely. Fun Fact says, do I have any thoughts on Ezoic Premium? So Ezoic sponsors the video. I'm obviously biased, so I would say check it out if you are. I've heard very good things. It doesn't always, work out. You will have to test for your own specific site, but I would say it's worth it to give it a shot, to use the Ezoic Premium and have that in place. And if anyone in the chat has experience, feel free to type it in there. All right, AB says you should have started with an age domains. Yeah, it's getting extremely popular, especially with companies like ODYS who have age domains with strong branding. You can get $100 credit to your account, and it could be a good way to essentially skip the sandbox. AB asked about Ezoic support. And if it's better under premium. I don't know for a fact. I suspect if you're having any issues with support, shoot me an email, Doug at Niche Site Project. You should be getting good support regardless. All right. Steve says, this is an interesting take. So AI is a terrible idea. Adds no extra value to the reader, only a shortcut for content providers. So this is an interesting take, and Josh fires back. So you don't outsource anything and write everything yourself. That is a quote shortcut too. I think saying it's a shortcut isn't the reason why it's a bad thing. I think if the AI gets good enough where it can write legible content, we'll be in great shape. The stuff that I have seen is either very, like the demo videos are very, I don't know how to, it's very configured. So you have to use the tool properly and use it in an effective way and understand all the nuances. And if you're trying to do it quickly, you end up with basically spun articles like we saw 7, 8, 10 years ago. There were these article spinners that would go and scrape the web, and they would do word substitutions and sort of mash content together, and you ended up with sort of an illegible mess of just words that were thrown up. It wasn't very helpful. So I think, Steve, your point isn't, it's a shortcut for content providers, and Josh is saying, well, you're taking a shortcut if you're hiring people, but you potentially can hire someone and have the synthesis of new ideas, pulling ideas together, and end up with something that's valuable to the reader. The fact is, if you use the AI tools with that in mind, you could use it as a first draft like Market Muse has. That's the name of their tool. So you could use it as a first draft to get you started. And then you could add more value, maybe hire a writer to spice it up, augment it, make it better, edit it, do all that stuff. And you just use it as like the early building blocks. What most people are asking about, Josh, is, hey, can I use this AI tool and end up with content that I could just publish straight away? Now, that'll be great if we can get to that point. I think that would be fantastic, especially if it gets the answer to the user or the visitor and answers their question. So going deep into that. Okay. Someone asked about an SEO course. I don't know. I haven't taken very many courses, so I can't really comment on that. So Top GFX is asking about the Writer's End new KGR method. So I haven't looked at it too closely, but they are trying to quantify some theories that I have. Well, this is all shit that I've done already. So basically they're putting these sort of different buckets of KGR. So thinking about search volumes. Now the problem is, and I've been trying to, I'm chatting with the founder of Writer's End because they were using the KGR without permission or anything like that. In fact, they never even linked to me or mentioned anything. And they were gracious when I reached out to them and said, hey, like, we should talk about this because you're using the KGR. You're saying this is the KGR, but then they're completely ignoring many of the core pieces of the formula. So I'm chatting with them. I don't know if it's effective in the same way because you end up in a situation when you're going for keywords that have lower than 250 searches per month, you can rank for those faster, just in general. One untested theory that I have is that there's some sort of a throttle that's held back. Not exactly a sandbox, but if you're targeting a keyword that gets 10,000 searches per month versus one that gets, say, 150 searches per month, and they both have a lot of content online serving those keywords and one search for a lot more than the other, there's a good chance you're probably going to be able to rank for the lower search volume term faster, even if there's a lot of other content on the topic. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon, and I've talked to a lot of people, and generally lower search volume terms they rank faster. They often rank faster. So I don't know, Writer's End, I think it's such a new company. I'd be surprised if they actually have data to like a large set of data to like prove that new method works. But I am chatting with Dan, and hopefully we'll be able to, figure out the right way to present that so it doesn't bastardize the keyword golden ratio. I've done, I'll go back. At first, no one cared about the keyword golden ratio. And then people started using it and it started working, and folks would chat about it on their own, which was great. Kind of took on its own life. And the KGR got big enough where now there's like hater videos. So I actually have had people like their biggest video is one where they shit on the KGR. It's just the internet, what can you do? But I'm glad they talk about it. And there's like, it doesn't work. And then they're like, I would just tweak like one thing, So anyway, those people do that and they do their thing. All right. Ben says you can do geo-targeting by selecting the globe next to the search box. So I think, so Ben, I know we can search for like US versus UK or Canada or whatever. How does it do with actual local keywords, like specific cities or like plumber in Denver, Colorado, stuff like that. All right, we're getting through. Okay, so we're talking more about. Okay, so we're getting more into the AI, but I'm going to follow along here. So Eric says the real value in AI is determining what's currently ranking on Google by reverse engineering the results for your keyword. Good point, Eric. That is a better application of AI. And Josh says that he has seen some poor content outsourced. And honestly, at this point, I have heard of people that are saying they're writing the content and then they're using one of the AI tools. And that's why some of it is crappy. Eric says GPT-3 is pretty good, but it's still not good enough for real users. I concur with that. Okay, so getting deep. Yeah, I think AI could be really cool for content creation if it gets a little bit better. But I think that if, yeah, like I said before, if you use it as part of the process, then it'll work out fine. And I'm pretty sure that I'm just echoing what I've heard like the creators of the tools say. Okay. And then AB says some people on Facebook said KGR doesn't work because everyone uses it. So and then you were like, yeah, hater video. Yeah, I mean, I don't even participate in Facebook groups except for earlier I shared this. I shared this video in Ben's Facebook group. Yeah, I mean, I don't even. So, okay, so I'll ignore the Facebook stuff. So KGR doesn't work because everyone uses it. I would say I bet you can find some niches where it's very saturated and then KGR won't work as well. I think that follows along very closely with other marketing strategies. So I chatted with someone who I think they were like in like a trade. I said plumbers earlier, so let's use that example. So they were they're a plumber, and they held like a online summit. All right, so they held an online summit and they had webinars and they invited influencers in the space and experts and authors and all that, and they did this online summit. Well, we're in this internet marketing sort of niche, right? So we've been doing these online summits for like 6 years. And frankly, at this point, it's just a complete waste of my time. So I've never attended an online summit because I'm not going to fucking sit around and like watch someone present on the screen. I don't try to sit in front of my machine. Although everyone out there is sitting and watching me right now, this is different since we're sort of interacting in a better way. But the online summits, those are go on like all day long, right? For like a few days. They're like a conference, right? So online summits were really popular and some people are still doing them. And I'm probably at the point where I'm probably not going to do online summits anymore. It is, a way for the person holding the summit to get a lot of cross promotion from all the people that are in the summit. And I've even thought like, wow, it is a great way to like build up your own email list fast if you just coordinate all this stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to subject myself to like running a summit. The whole point here is this plumber summit did great. It was like groundbreaking because they, in the plumbing industry, they never were a part of an online summit. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't sort of abused and saturated. So it worked fantastic in this industry where it wasn't saturated. So the whole point, AB, is there's probably some areas where people have really scoured for KGR terms and there's not as many available. I'm sure that's true. I'm pretty sure you can find other sort of untouched areas that are going to be great. You're going to find a ton of KGR terms. And I can think of a couple of examples, videos that you could watch. You can check out the interview I did with Charlie last year, and then Gaurav as well. I think I may have done 2 interviews with each of those guys, but they found KGR terms for their different niches. I don't even know what these guys are working on, but they found hundreds of KGR terms. And in fact, Gaurav hit 10K per month from Amazon in under a year as a newbie. Now, he invested a lot and he was skilled as a person that can build teams, and he was able to hire writers and just utilize his skills from his day job to be able to hire people and build a team and publish a lot of content. But the fact is, you know, KGR seems to be effective. And the other thing is, when you see the, the quote, the hater videos, those are, it's like the worst part of the internet. Like, I have a love-hate with YouTube. It's great to share stuff like this, and I've been able to talk about the keyword golden ratio and have a lot of people, check out that information. It's also where you have clickbait headlines, bullshit thumbnails, and other stuff like that, where you end up at a spot where you think, hey, I'm going to publish a video because it's controversial, and that's how I'm going to get views. Because it's a thing where people are dogmatic. It's a thing where people say, hey, never build links. And then you have a video, it's like Google will penalize you for building links or some kind of stuff like that. So it operates on clickbait. You end up with weird videos that maybe those people wouldn't have made videos like that if they knew they could get more views with something more positive, perhaps. Anyway, Ben does say that plumber in Denver, not many keywords would show up because there aren't a lot of questions people that are asking around that term in general. But you could try plumber in Denver with a wildcard search. So overall, I would say, Afnan, get the 1,000 free credits for Keyword Chef, test it out. I think you may have already said you signed up, but for local searches, I mean, I would have to say, from what I've looked at, Keyword Chef is more for like content sites versus like local SEO sites. All right. We have just a couple more minutes here. I'm going to wrap it up here soon. My voice is going. Then I have to interview Mushfiq. So that I have a podcast too. So if people haven't checked out the podcast, it's called The Doug Show. Talk about affiliate marketing and stuff. So Christian says, any experience with a Hoth or Hoth X? Not recently. I have used some of the Hoth products and they do a really good job. They're excellent with delivery. Hoth X, I think with a Hoth X, you have to look out for the gray hat links that they build, if that's the sort of all-encompassing package that I'm thinking of. You have to be really careful with those gray hat links if that's something you care about or don't care about. Very important. I have heard people had great luck with the Hoth X, and then over time their site got hit. Maybe some of the links were no longer recognized or something like that. Eric says, have I been playing with topical relevancy or topical authority these days? Not directly, perhaps. So I have been doing some, and I think it falls into the area. So I've done some content clusters around like a keyword or two that I've been doing well in. So there's a specific site that I'm thinking of, and there was I think it was like 1,000 word article that was doing pretty well. So I beefed it up. I think it's about 4,000 words now. And then I published a cluster of content with probably 12 different articles that range from 800 to 2,000 words or so. And I've seen really good results with that. So it is topical relevancy and topical authority. The individual pages are not yet pulling in very much traffic, but it's only been, I think, about less than a month or so. But that whole set of keywords is kind of on the uptick. And Adrian says he's late. That's totally fine. We're wrapping up here, but you are prepping for Iceland. Enjoy the trip. All right, checking out any other questions here. All right, so I think we're getting through it. Oh yeah, and AB says, Charlie and Garavia, check out those couple interviews. And AB mentions that also the way you handle the question is why I like you, transparent, and I'm tired of haters who slam other people. Yeah. Oh, Tony says, what's up, Tony? Good to see you. He said the podcast is amazing. Yeah, check out the Doug Show. There's content that I don't even publish on the YouTube channel. So sort of first and foremost, the interviews I do are their podcasts. So I have had, I've had some interesting comments where people say, hey, these interviews are too long. You should put timestamps and all that stuff. And I'm just being nice enough to publish it on YouTube. That's how I look at it. It's a podcast primarily. I love that format, and I would love to have someone go through and put the timestamps on the interviews, but I haven't had a specific desire to do it, and I'm not sure it's actually going to raise the number of views or anything. It would just be a little more convenient for people that don't want to watch the whole video, which there's value in that, but okay. And Christian says the Hoth seems to be good for guest posting. Yeah, they seem to do a pretty good job. I would check out. I did a promo recently with Stand Ventures. You could check for actually if you just search on my YouTube channel for Stand Ventures, you should find a link, and they'll be cheaper. And actually, you know what, man? I think it's just this link here. I'm an affiliate, so I get a commission, but basically I think Stand Ventures has the same sort of delivery, and that'll be essentially the same quality and a little bit cheaper. All right, and Eric says, that's close. Myself and a few others feel it's the new direction of Google. There's case study coming out with ridiculous results, and you're developing tools for that. Yeah, and I think, great point. And I do have to wrap up here in a second, but I will hop back and say, for this, this sort of stuff here, I haven't done this specifically, but one could, right? So we're looking at bread makers. We're looking at the best bread maker type keywords. And when you go to keywords, like I said, you could end up with sourdough, right? So we have, these are pretty much the same keyword, but the idea is one could, actually, here's a better. So a cluster of recipes, right? So breadmaker.com/recipes, and then you have all these different recipes down here. That'd be great. That'd be a great way. So you could just have that cluster all together. Oh, and Business Ready is hooking me up with some. So you can tick auto timestamps on upload. It came out last week on YouTube. I have not seen that, so I will check it out. All right, AJ, final question here says, what do I think about expired domains? Go for it. But I'm sponsored by ODYS. Actually, check out ODYS. So just like um, I'm using Keyword Chef, I'm an affiliate. I am sponsored by ODYS, who you could check out like a bunch of their age domains. Those are going to be much better than expired domains typically because they will not have expired. A lot of times these age domains were picked up at auction. I think most of the time they're picked up at auction. So they are typically have not been expired, and they've always been indexed on Google. All right, and final key. Someone says this is Coco Notes. Says Keyword Chef is a great tool. What I like most is a wild card search, which is heaven sent to pick topics that are not yet covered, and you're enjoying it so far. Okay, and real final question. Tony says, any recommendation on organizational scheduling software? I would need to know more specifics, but I know a lot of people really like to use Calendly, and I don't know if that would fit your needs. I use Cogsworth because I interviewed the founder way back, and it's a pretty good tool. Like I said, I'm not sure if that fits your need. There's a couple other super pretty good scheduling softwares. Oh yeah, and I see Adrian is hooking me up with some super chats, which I greatly appreciate. So enjoy the Iceland trip. My wife and I were just talking about maybe going there. So, okay, and Christian subscribed. Yeah, other people, if you found this helpful, please subscribe. We have 51 likes, which is that's much higher than typical. So that's great. And I even did this little overlay thing, but I forgot to ever show it. Subscribe below. I don't know why I didn't do that. And finally, I just keep answering more questions. Adrian says, why the green shirt? So I used to wear black shirts almost all the time, but it's so dark down here that I realized that I need to wear shirts with a little color. So I went from wearing like almost all black t-shirts because my old office was sort of a lighter background and all that. So I needed some color. This is a very comfortable t-shirt, and yeah, I like it. It's from Left Hand, Stouts and Shenanigans. Left Hand Brewing, which is just down the street. If people are beer folks, you know that. Okay, so we're at 53 likes. This is amazing. All right, I got a jet. Got an interview with Mushfiq